Hello everybody and welcome to a different video. So we're going to be servicing the John Deere today. I should have done it last year, but I kept putting it off and in the end it never got done. So we've gone over the 200-hour mark, which is when it needs to be done. Yeah, that screen is a bit blurry. That needs a good clean. But yeah, it's at 234. That screen will be clear once it's been done with some window cleaner. But yeah, it just basically needs to have a good pressure wash. We need to take the deck off, clean out under there, probably paint under there. I tend to paint under there every service because it's just a good thing to do, because when you leave the grass under there it just eats away at the deck. And also, I will actually show you this properly in a minute, but I know that when I last looked under that deck cover, the internal deck belt was not looking great. It was showing some signs of wear. There was actually a huge crack in it, but it has done probably 50 or 60 hours of mowing since then. So I've ordered it. £138 for a belt. Wow, John Deere. That just seems so steep. Anyway, yeah, we'll get that fitted once it arrives. For now though, let's just give it a pressure wash. So the reason for taking the wheel off is so I can access the shaft just there, the PTO shaft, which runs from the transmission to the deck. With the wheel on, it's next to impossible to actually fit that and remove it. You'd probably remove it, but refitting it is, in my opinion, impossible. I've tried in the past and I just couldn't do it. So anyway, we can pull it off. And then back here we have a linch pin which should pull out of there. There we go. Okay, that's the deck load. Pull this pin and that drops off the front. And now we just have the rear one. And there we have it, the deck. So we can't really tell much from here. We're going to have to flip it over and have a look. But yeah, definitely this cover is going to come off. We'll have a good look under there. We'll clean it out. We'll change the belt, grease all of the spindles. But I think the majority of the work will be underneath. Yeah, there we go. You can see how caked that is. And if I was to leave this until the end of winter, this would all be under here just rotting it away. So it is important that this is all cleaned out and painted. The blades will obviously need to have a sharpen, but I think we do still have at least one more sharpen left in these. They are the original blades, but they seem to keep going. But there has been, by the look of it, quite a bit of wear this year, well, the last 2 years. As I said, I didn't service it. My mistake. But these have done 230 hours. That does seem to be quite impressive. We'll try and get them to 250. But yeah, you can see I do try and look after it. Try and keep it clean. But yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll have it for. There are some aspects of it that I'm not too keen on. And I would prefer an Izeki. But yeah, we'll see. that's looking better, but I think it would be a good idea to remove this cover now, because if I remove it later, when I've put the pressure washer away, I'm going to discover it's all caked up in here, and I regret putting the pressure washer away. So let's get this removed. So that's looking a lot better. As you can see though, it's very stained, but you can actually remove this staining. What I do is I use the engine degreaser, and it does take that off brilliantly, but you do have to be careful. Use it at your own risk, because you could, if you keep it on there for too long, damage the paintwork. So I'm going to do that now. I'll do a quick time lapse, and it should look a lot better. So there we have it. Obviously not perfect, it's just to make it look a bit more presentable, and as long as the visible areas are much cleaner, it's fine. So the next thing is to take the blades off. They need sharpening, the underside of the deck needs painting, and the belt needs to be replaced. Okay, so for whatever reason this one is really stuck, so I'm going to use a 3/4 inch impact wrench. This is the Makita TW001G, and I think it's around 2000 Newton meters of torque, maybe a bit less. So we'll see what it can do. That's got it. It's amazing. The other one was struggling so much I couldn't do it with the breaker bar either, and that just gets it straight out. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's have a look at these blades. We're going to get these sharpened. I know that some people are going to look at these and think, oh wow, there's loads of life on them. You could get another 200 hours out of them, and maybe you could, if you want to leave them until they're paper thin. I'm going to give them one more sharpen, but then after that I'm going to replace them. I just don't need to run them until they're like worn back to here. I know some people do, but yeah, not me. So we'll sharpen this side first. What I tend to do is just take it flat and then start to put the edge on, all at the same angle. Like there's not an amazingly special way of doing it. It is just a case of grinding an edge on. But you don't want to have multiple angles, and you definitely don't want a flat spot. So yeah, I'll just show you how I do it basically. So I'll just show you how it's getting on. As you can see, we've got one angle. It's all the same angle throughout. You can see it's a little bit wavy. It's just basically where stones are hit. So we've ground it back, and it's revealed where those dents are. But if we took it flat to the base of those dents, and then we put the edge on, it would look perfect. But we just don't need to do that. So anyway, we'll do the other side, and then I have the other two to do. So all that's left to do now is to balance the blade, and it's actually looking alright. Just got it on one of these blade balancers. It's slightly heavier on this side, so I need to grind a bit off, and hopefully that will balance it nicely. It is really close, it's only just out. So there we have it, 3 blades, all sharpened, ready to refit. And of course it's all painted under here to help protect it from rotting in the future. I just come inside because it is raining, but there we have the belt. It's just arrived, £138. And this is the belt which I'm replacing, obviously. All because of that. It might not even be that serious, but clearly it is cracked. It's just not ideal. It might do another 50 to 100 hours. But then again, it might do 2. And yeah, I think it's best just to change it. It has, after all, done over 230 hours, so it's not terrible, I guess, but the rest of the belt's fine. That is literally the only wear. Like, you can still read the words John Deere on there. Well, you can if the lighting is right. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying, but these things happen. The camera really doesn't like how bright this deck is. Yeah, I don't have the book with me, but I'm guessing to get the belt off from underneath this gearbox pulley, we're going to have to remove these 2 bolts and then hopefully just loosen those 2 instead of removing the whole thing. Then it should just lift up a bit and we can slide it underneath. We'll have to see. Okay, so just going to have to reference that. Goes around the back, around the front of that pulley, around the back of that pulley, front of that one, and then over there. So let's try and remove it. It's so close, but yeah, it's not going to go past it. Yeah, I think instead of removing the pulley, I'm just going to remove the frame. Or maybe just loosen it. There we go. Yeah, so that's the gearbox off. Not what I wanted to do, but there we go. I'm going to have to release the tension as well. And maybe remove that pulley. It's raining heavily now. Yeah, don't use this as a guide, this video. This is for entertainment purposes. I would usually get the manual, but I've lost it for the deck. Well, I haven't lost it, it's just misplaced. That was a joke, by the way. I know, a very bad one. Okay, so there we go. That's the old belt removed. I'm going to keep it though, as an emergency backup, because it really isn't that bad. Okay, so I think that's done correctly. Yeah, I'll just turn the PTO shaft. All looks to be good. Yeah, we're fine. Good, so that's another job done. Just give each one a grease. Well, that's the deck done. I just have a few grease nipples to do on the tractor itself. Okay, I'm now going to service the engine, and there's not an awful lot to do. Basically just an oil change, filter change, and I'll also blow out the air filter. So yeah, I've still got some of this left. Not too much, probably about 1.5 litres in that one. That's the John Deere X750 SE15W40. And then I have a new one as well. because we'll need to open that. And of course we have the oil filter just here, as you can see. So we'll get the original oil drained and we'll get the new oil put in. Just give that a minute to warm up. 140. 235. Okay, let's get this draining. Might fire out quite a bit. There we go, so yeah, quite discoloured. But we'll get it changed. It's done 95 hours. And we'll get that oil filter removed in a second. Okay, 235 hours. Just put a bit of oil on the O-ring. And we'll get that fitted. And that's still draining a bit, so I'll just go and measure the oil. I know it's quite hard to see in this lighting, so I've just put a mark where 3.2 litres is. So that's the first one empty. Looks like we did have about 1.5 litres in that one. Okay, we might need to add more. Probably easy without the funnel. I've let that rest, and now we can check the oil. And I don't know how well you can see that, but it is just over, which is good, because when I start the engine, it's going to go into the filter. Let it rest again. Okay. Yep. Perfect. Let's give that a blowout with the airline. There we go. There we go, that's all good. And there we have it, that is the John Deere service ready for next spring. Unfortunately the lawns are absolutely soaking, so I can't really test it. I don't really want to get it caked up underneath again anyway. So I've just thrown some footage from back in May of this year, when I was cutting some fairly long grass. Thanks for watching though, and I'll see you in the next video.